You think you're going to scare me with that, she snapped, her eyes never leaving his. I'm not the only one who knows, he hissed, knuckles whitening around the folder. She stepped forward, voice low. You sat on the truth for years, what's it like finally being cornered? He tried to laugh, but it caught in his throat. No one's going to believe you, you want to try, go ahead, but you'll lose. The air thickened as she placed the evidence flat on the table between them. Try me. A sharp intake of breath. You have one chance, sign or this goes public. Her words landed like stones, final. His hand hovered, trembling. In that room, the old light buzzed above, casting their faces in harsh relief. Before the pen even touched the paper, you could see the panic bloom behind his eyes. To understand how this moment became possible, you have to start weeks earlier, when everything she owned fit into the backseat of a car and the world had written her off. The screen on the dashboard glared $44.18 in green font, the number short and bright as a warning. Rain battered the windshield in fitful bursts, and the Westchester County sign blurred by. Emma's fingers tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles aching, as a pothole rattled the two battered suitcases stacked in the passenger seat. Behind her, Anna, 8 years old, clutching a faded blue frog, pressed her nose to the glass, watching gray water chase along the curb. Mom, are we gonna stay here forever? Anna's voice was so soft the question almost vanished beneath the patter. Emma kept her eyes forward, blinking stinging tiredness. Not forever, honey, just tonight, maybe a little longer. Do we still have snacks? Anna fumbled in the backpack. I saved the animal crackers, we could share them if you want. The offer was so innocent, Emma almost laughed. Maybe after we find the house, Emma said, forcing her lips into a tired smile. But thank you for saving them, sweetheart. The GPS stuttered, then lost signal. It didn't matter. The Hartwell house loomed at the end of the block, an old 4-bedroom, clapboard sides mildewed gray, turquoise gate peeling in warlike strips, porch sagging, windows yellowed and blind. Emma parked under a streetlight's half-glow and breath, the old taste of resentment on her tongue. Every memory whispered here, wedding photos taken on the steps, Richard's deep laugh echoing from the driveway, Anna's first birthday. But now Richard was gone 3 years, lost to a midnight stroke. Everything after hers losing, theirs taking. A text pinged. Don't bother making a scene, Emma, flashed the message. Margaret Hartwell, Richard's mother, never missed a barb. Last time they spoke at the memorial, Margaret had handed Emma a set of keys and clipped, if you're sentimental about trash, take the dump. Everything else is for real family. Emma remembered unclipping the envelope from her coat this morning. Inside, a crude map and a sarcastic sticky note. Your inheritance. As the rain paused, Anna tugged her sleeve. Is this ours? Emma sighed. It's supposed to be. The porch creaked as they crossed it. Inside, Emma found stacks of empty moving boxes, dust thick on the wood floors. And in the kitchen, Margaret stood with Richard's Uncle Don, arms crossed, eyes full of cold entertainment. Well, here she is, Don drawled. Thought you might pass this up, Emma. Margaret looked her over. You always were stubborn, weren't you? Take your pick. The dump's yours. We'll handle the important things. Emma ignored the burn. She stepped into the kitchen, something gritty crunching underfoot. Suddenly, a strange patch of wall by the cabinets caught her eye, faded outlines hinting where one panel didn't quite match. The slightest shadow behind it. Hook 1, something hidden already, behind what they wanted her to see. If you've ever stared down someone who had every advantage and wanted you to vanish, keep listening. Sometimes, the only road left to you is the one they never thought you'd walk. They left the kitchen with the echoes of Margaret's laughter in their ears. Anna gripped her hand, damp fingers squeezing as Emma tried to feign steadiness. Journey to discovery. The rain finally slowed as Emma steered the car back around the block to park behind the house, away from Margaret and Don's sightlines. The drive had already stolen every drop of her energy, but the unexplained panel in the kitchen nagged at her, insistent as a heartbeat. She turned to Anna, who scrunched her face in the glow of the dome light. Stay right here, okay? Lock the doors. If you hear anybody knocking, that's not me, don't open. Anna nodded, eyes wide but trusting. You gonna look for spiders? Her voice wobbled between fear and forced bravery. Emma's lips pressed. I'll handle the spiders. Armed with a tiny lead flashlight and the bent house key, Emma slipped back through the side door. The damp interior felt colder than the rain. Shadows leaned against moth-eaten curtains, the refrigerator groaned, half dead in the corner. Each step through dark hallways scraped up new layers of memory and anger. Years earlier, Richard's dad muttering about taxes. Later, herself on these stairs in old sneakers nursing baby Anna when Margaret refused to visit. We don't come this far out for nothing. When Richard was gone, the silence here grew, swelling with things unsaid. At the kitchen, she ran her knuckles along the mismatched cabinet. The base shifted, a slight give beneath her fingers. A sound from decades ago echoed. Richard, tipsy at a family barbecue, had laughed. Dad said this place was full of hiding holes. Never trusted the banks after '87. Emma hesitated. Then she placed both hands against the panel and pushed hard. The cabinet front groaned, swung on a hidden hinge, revealing a corridor so narrow she had to turn sideways. Stale, earth-heavy air rushed up. A cracked bulb dangled, chain long and cold. The passage sloped downward, carved through stone, probably before Anna was born. She ducked inside, feet sinking into dirt. Hook 2. Passing through darkness, she reached a heavy wooden door reinforced with crossbeams. A rusty padlock dangled, snapped easily when she twisted her house key. The air changed, cold, fragrant with old paper. Emma peered inside, and what she saw made the world tilt. First revelation. Beyond the old door, a square room stretched under the kitchen, drywall unfinished. The single bulb overhead flickered, illuminating stacks of shoe boxes marked in different handwriting decades apart. A battered safe squatted against one wall, the shiny dial incongruous with the dirt around it. She hesitated, but the urge to know forced her hand. Most boxes held yellowed receipts, Christmas cards, old keys for doors she didn't recognize, and newspaper clippings about businesses long folded. But then, hidden under old tax folders, she uncovered a plain manila envelope sealed with wax. Her fingers trembled as she broke it open. Inside, bundles of stock certificates, blue-chip company names marching across the tops, some so old they might have predated her childhood. Handwritten on the envelope, a crisp note, "For Emma, if she ever needs proof." The safe, she spun the dial, guessing at Richard's old football number. Nothing. She pressed her ear to the steel, recalling his birthday, their anniversary. The lock clicked open with a satisfying pop. Inside, another envelope, this one bulging, labeled Truth, Margaret Dawn, stay out. Slipped between documents, a letter in faded, looping script, her grandmother-in-law's handwriting. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. You were always his heart. The others will try to keep you out. Remember, the will I wrote was never changed, no matter what Margaret tells you. These stocks are for you and Anna. They're yours. I hid them here so the right hands would find them. Don't trust anyone until you read every line. There's more in the box than you think. Emma's breath shuddered out. Her vision blurred, fingertips numbed by cold and adrenaline. Below, layered beneath bank statements, were years of dividend receipts. Not just sums, full portfolios growing for decades. Names misspelled here and there, her own, Anna S., not a cent of it claimed. Emma sat on the dirt floor, the world spinning. A sound above, Anna's shoes on the floor. Emma stuffed the envelope into her jacket and climbed up, the letter pounding against her ribs. The real fight was just beginning. Time pressure ignites. Clutching the envelope, Emma shuttled Anna to the car, locking them both inside. The safe's contents felt radioactive in her lap, life-changing, yes, but radioactive. As she drove toward downtown Oak Haven, her hands shook. She stared at her phone and scrolled through old contacts. The only name she dared trust lit up, Theo Jensen, former estate lawyer for Richard's family. He'd retired to a small ground-level office behind the hardware store, but he'd never liked Margaret much. Emma stopped outside, rain starting up again, Anna asleep in the backseat. She carried everything, envelope, letter, hope like a candle, to Theo's door. Inside, the office was worn but familiar, sports trophies, photo of Theo fly fishing, legal books older than Anna. Theo peered over reading glasses. Emma Hartwell, I haven't seen you since. She slid the envelope across the table. I found this under the kitchen, hidden safe, letter from Nan Hartwell. I didn't know who else to call. Theo's brow furrowed as he skimmed the contents. You've done something most wouldn't dare. These are still valid, never reissued. You see these dividends. Emma gripped the chair. Are they real, all of this is? Real as death and taxes, he whistled. You're looking at between 8 and 25 million counting compound interest. Margaret and Don kept this out of probate. Legally, if that original will surfaces, you and Anna should have had everything, but they grabbed the rest, called you nothing to the court. Emma slumped, tired humor betraying her. They said I could keep the house, the dump. Theo adjusted his tie, voice urgent. Listen, Margaret and Don are already planning an estate sale. You have 2 weeks, maybe less, before they get rid of anything that could help. If Nan's letter surfaces, everything they've taken can be reversed, but you have to move fast. A strange thing flickered in Theo's face, both fear and admiration. They'll come after you, Emma. Don't trust them, not for a second. Emma's fingers tightened on Nan's letter. I've got nothing left to lose, I'll fight. And deep inside, a dangerous hope began to burn. Danger plus false resolution. Over the next 24 hours, Emma never left Anna's side except to return to the house for more documents. She visited probate court, filed what she could, returned to find the windows covered with cheap cardboard, Don's work, to scare her off. By Wednesday afternoon, she found herself at a hardware store, Anna tugging at her sleeve. She didn't see the Dodge Ram until it swung sharply into the lot, Margaret in the passenger seat, Don at the wheel. Both faces set hard, lips pressed thin. Don got out first, voice booming. You digging through our family's dirt, Emma? Emma steadied Anna behind her. Your family or your bank account? Margaret sneered. You shouldn't be here. You got your charity, take it and go. Her voice was brittle, nervous. Emma didn't flinch. I found something in that house you said was worthless. Did you really think I'd just take your scraps? Margaret's laughter was all sharp edge. They're not your scraps, they're what you deserve or less. That's not what Nan thought, Emma replied, voice calm. She left her real wishes buried where you couldn't touch them. Don's shoulders hunched, eyes darting. Margaret's nails drummed on her phone. Don growled, stepping close. You caused trouble, you'll regret it. Emma stepped forward, heart racing, but her jaw set. You kept me down for years. I'm not scared now. I know what you did and I have proof. A tense beat, Margaret's phone buzzed, echo loud. Anna clung silently. When Don and Margaret realized she wouldn't back down, they left with a screech of tires. Emma's knees nearly buckled. Anna whispered, Are we in trouble? Emma squeezed her hand. No, honey, we're just getting started. In the dark, Emma found new strength. The scope had grown, a hidden portfolio, an original will, and the prospect that the house, the one everyone dismissed, held more value than anyone dreamed. She wasn't running anymore. Preparation plus full scope. That night, after Anna was asleep on a threadbare mattress, Emma spread her findings over the kitchen table. Theo joined her, bringing with him an old lockbox and a stack of legal pads. He poured them both a cup of strong tea. I checked court records. In 2 weeks, everything not nailed down gets auctioned, documents, ledgers, furniture. If you have any hope, you need to stop that sale. The court needs proof and we have to act fast. Emma sorted the documents, hands moving with desperate precision. I want justice, Theo, but I don't want revenge, not for Anna's sake. Theo tapped the table, thoughtful. You show them how clean your hands are. You use what's righteous, not what's cruel. You want them to fear what happens if they cross you again. Emma nodded slowly, determination hardening. I'll give them one chance to admit to return what they stole. If they refuse, we bring everything public. Theo smiled a little sad. Remind me not to cross you, Emma. She exhaled, looked at the pile, layers of history, all pointing toward truth. The day of confrontation was coming. She would not stand alone. Climax confrontation. Courthouse Annex main conference room. Long windows, cracked tile, the old county seal fading on the back wall. Emma stood tall, Anna beside her, Theo on the left, a barrier of support. The room buzzed, Margaret and Don across the table, flanked by their lawyer, eyes darting between manila folders and Emma's calm glare. A court clerk sat at a side table, motionless, eyes interested despite herself. Don shifted in his seat, barely hiding his nervousness. Margaret wore her pearls, neck stiff above an out-of-date suit, fingers thrumming restlessly. Theo broke the silence, voice crisp. We appreciate your time. My client has come into possession of new evidence affecting the estate distribution. Margaret's eyes narrowed. More theatrics, this is beneath you, Theo. Emma placed the envelope between them. Open it. Her words, sharp-edged, filled the room. Don snatched it, yanking out the letter and stock certificates, face blanching as he scanned the names and figures. Margaret leaned in, trying to play disinterest but voice cracking. You really think some old piece of paper changes anything? Emma held Margaret's stare, steady as steel. Nan left her wishes in black and white, stashed so you could never tamper with them. Don's lips curled, but for the first time Emma noticed sweat on his brow. No one's going to believe some hidden letter, the court already decided. Theo pressed all lawyers' logic. This is the original will, unaltered with supporting legal documents. Combined with the unclaimed securities and dividend paths, no judge ignores this. The villain's lawyer cut in, desperate. If this is real, we'll. You'll do nothing, Emma shot back. You've bullied, lied, and stolen, but now you're out of hiding. Anna squeezed her mother's hand under the table. Emma pushed forward, voice rising. You think you're going to scare me with that? She snapped, eyes locked on Don as he clung to the folder. I'm not the only one who knows, Don hissed, his bravado slipping. Emma moved closer, voice calm. You sat on the truth for years. What's it like finally being cornered? Margaret tried to interject, but her words evaporated. Don blustered, waving the papers. No one's going to believe you. You want to try, go ahead, but you'll lose. Emma placed the evidence flat on the table between them. Try me. Her voice was quiet thunder. His hand hovered over the documents, trembling, caught between denial and futile resistance. She leaned forward, her whole body radiating conviction. You have one chance. Sign or this goes public. The press will chew you alive. Oak Haven's smaller than you remember. Margaret's mask finally cracked. You're bluffing, she whispered, voice almost pleading. Emma, not looking away, replied, Is that a risk you're willing to take? Theo slid the agreement forward, a clean settlement. Return what was stolen, allow the court reversal, pay interest and damages, or risk legal destruction and public disgrace. Don's pen scratched shakily over the line. Margaret's hands wouldn't stop trembling. Outside, the courthouse clock banged out 11 slow chimes. Anna pressed close to her mother. Emma didn't let her gaze waver, watching panic and humiliation simmer on the faces that had tried to erase her. When the last page was signed and witnessed, Margaret slumped, small and quiet. Don couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Consequences arrived, not in thunder, but in slow, irreversible steps. Justice plus aftermath. News spread quickly through Oak Haven. Margaret and Don tried to explain, but their explanations rang hollow to neighbors who remembered their arrogance. Probate court overturned the previous distributions, everything transferred back with damages. The blue-chip portfolios, more than $8 million in principal, untold millions to come as the stocks matured, became Emma's and Anna's. But Emma chose not to press criminal charges. Instead, a binding agreement. Margaret and Don forfeited any future claim, signed a public statement admitting wrongdoing, and became the town's silent story nobody envied. They faded from society circles, no more garden club teas or church auctions, their shame too well known to hide. Neighbors who once snickered at Emma's rundown car or her back alley struggles came forward. Some brought casseroles, some apologies, a few with feeble, "I always wondered about Margaret." Emma accepted the kindness, but her forgiveness was for Anna, not for those who watched her fail. Theo, never one for praise, shook her hand outside the courthouse. "You did what most couldn't, had all the cards and chose mercy, makes you better than them." Emma looked at Anna, who now jumped puddles on the pavement, hopelessly outgrowing her shoes. This was always about her, not me. Soon, repairs began on the house. Anna painting sunflowers on sagging fences, laughter echoing into rooms that hadn't known joy for years. Resolution plus moral. 6 months later, the newly restored kitchen buzzed as Emma poured coffee for the first customers of her bakery, warm scones, sunlight on fresh countertops, laughter a new language in the walls. Anna handed out napkins, her smile full of something stronger than relief, hope. Emma no longer measured her worth by what others withheld. She learned that dignity grows not in the shade of revenge, but in the bright fields of possibility rebuilt. Sometimes the greatest power is not in burning bridges, but building something worth crossing for. If you've ever been handed less than you deserved, remember, the story can always be rewritten, and sometimes your courage is the pen. She looked out the front window, Anna beside her, and let the future unfold, ready at last to step inside it, with the door wide open. Morning light cut across the bakery displays, catching golden edges of honey buns and the pale dust of flour on Emma's hands. Anna swirled a finger through the condensation on the glass, drawing a lopsided heart. Outside, a few regulars sipped coffee on the porch's newly sanded rail, the turquoise gate, now freshly painted, standing bright at the curb. Down Main Street, the grocery's neon flickered on, and Maggie Hoyt, head of the Oak Haven Mums Committee, tottered across with a tin of loose-leaf tea for trade. Emma's phone chimed, a bank alert, then a text from Theo, "Closing on the last property per your instructions. See you at lunch, proud of you both." Only 6 months and the world had shifted gently back into place. Emma exhaled, slow, grounding herself. She watched Anna share a scone with Tommy Kent, who'd been the playground bully once. Now he just grinned at her jokes and offered a cookie swap. "How many customers today?" Anna asked, counting on her fingers. "I think we're up to 7. Emma ruffled Anna's hair. "Almost 10, and it's not even 10 o'clock. Anna's smile was a crescendo, confidence etched in freckles. She dashed behind the counter, arranging napkins, marshalling her kingdom of sweets. The bell over the door jingled. Part of Emma braced for echoes, laughter from a life before crisis, the bitterness spooled up in her shoulders. But the man entering was friendly, Ken Boland, postmaster and poker fiend. "Morning, Emma, got a letter, needs your signature." Emma wiped her hands on her apron and took the envelope. "Only bills and thank yous allowed before noon, Ken." Ken grinned, pretending to tip an invisible hat before shuffling to the display case. Emma watched him go, the sealed letter heavy in her palm, no return address, old-fashioned brown paper. Anna watched her mother's face. "Is it bad news?" Emma shook her head. "Not today, honey." But a tinge of worry made her set the envelope aside, pouring herself coffee first, delaying the moment. Eventually, Anna's curiosity became contagious. Emma broke the seal. The letter inside was short, blocky handwriting she recognized from the flurry of legal forms months earlier. "Emma, I owed you more than I ever gave, and maybe this doesn't make things right, but it's the best I have left. Enclosed is the last Hartwell family photo, found in a box I shouldn't have had. Maybe you don't want it, but I figure Anna might like to see where her story started. I hope you both find nothing but peace. Margaret." Folded inside was a Polaroid, baby Anna, Emma, Richard, and even Margaret smiling with something that once might have tried to be tenderness. The porch in the background before the paint peeled, before resentment took root. On the back, Richard's scrawl, "Sunflowers Forever." Emma stared at the photo, then slid it to Anna, who beamed wide. "That's you, right, Mommy and Grandma?" "Yes," Emma confirmed, voice soft. She struggled to feel anger, only exhaustion, and then, slowly, a release. She pinched the photo's edge. "It's a good memory to keep, Anna." Anna tucked it in her backpack next to the blue frog. "Can we plant sunflowers out front?" Emma laughed, tears pricking unnoticed. "I think we have room for a whole field." The morning wore on, sun climbing. Neighbors rotated through, 2 teachers on summer break, an old man who'd coached Richard's first baseball team, even the librarian, who slipped on a bookmark shaped like a cake. The outsider's barrier Emma once wore like armor now felt unnecessary. Kindness returned, earned and simple, and Emma let herself rest in it. Theo arrived for lunch, his suit jacket slung over one shoulder. "Business is strong, I see," he remarked, nodding at the full tables. Emma passed him a plate of lemon squares and sat opposite. Not bad for a dump nobody wanted. Theo grinned. Now that was Margaret's word, not mine. The door chimed, a hush drifted through the bakery. For a moment, Emma braced, surprised to see Don step inside. He'd shed the arrogance like a coat-worn flannel, eyes downcast, shuffling to the counter. He set down a bouquet of wildflowers and a small, battered envelope. He didn't lift his gaze. Theo stood, guarding but not threatening. Don swallowed, voice brittle. "I won't stay, wasn't sure I should come at all, just—" He slid the flowers across. "For Anna. I see her in the yard every morning replanting, reminded me of Nan." Emma could hear the truth in his exhaustion. The town's judgment had been merciless. Don had lost more than money. "Thank you," she said quietly. "She loves wildflowers." He hesitated. "I was wrong for years. We thought we deserved everything. Margaret, I can't undo it. You deserved better." Emma nodded, accepting. Forgiveness wasn't necessary, but letting go of hate felt like freedom. "Anna will remember you tried at the end. That's enough." Don almost smiled, a small fracture of the man he'd been. "That's something." He looked at Theo, shame crossing his face, then left as quietly as he'd arrived. Theo watched from the window as Don shuffled down the drive. "You know, it's rare to see people change in this town." Emma sipped her tea. "I didn't do it for him, but I'm glad he tried." Anna swooped in, clutching the wildflowers, face lit up. "Can we put them by the front window so the sun gets them?" Theo grinned. "You have quite the helper." Emma met Anna's gaze. "She's the reason for all of this." Outside, clouds threatened another rain, but sunlight streamed undaunted through the windows. After closing, Emma and Anna took the family photo and the bouquet to the old porch. Anna dug a small hole with her plastic trowel, humming, while Emma slid the photo into a weatherproof frame on the wall. "Do you miss Daddy?" Anna asked, sudden as a lightning flash. Emma tried to answer gently, brushing dirt from Anna's nose. "Every day, but I think he'd be proud of us, of you." Anna considered this, then nodded, poking a seed into the earth. "Maybe the sunflowers grow because of him." Emma felt the ache and the balm. "Maybe they do, sweetheart, maybe they do." As dusk settled, porch lights flickered on, warm, inviting, steady. By autumn, the fence overflowed with sunflowers and wild asters, Anna's favorite. Word of the bakery traveled, first through Oak Haven, then farther. A magazine wanted to run a feature on second chances and the magic of small towns. Orders came from the city, from strangers who wrote grateful notes. Emma worked harder than she'd ever worked, fixing roofs, balancing books, baking at dawn, but it was different now. Work that built, not erased. Work that belonged to her. Sometimes the past called, a brisk voice at community meetings, invitations to old circles she'd never entered, but Emma always declined politely. Anna, though, thrived, spelling bees, bike races, field trips across counties. The two of them, at last, had time to dream beyond survival. One evening, late in October, Emma found Anna scribbling at the kitchen table, tongue stuck out in concentration. "What are you working on this time?" Anna handed her a sheet of construction paper. now covered in hopeful sunflowers and a carefully printed sentence. Our family story, we started sad, but we live here now together and everything grows. Emma swallowed, tracing the words with her finger. Perfect, honey. Somewhere thunder rolled. Emma looked out past the blooming yard. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of storms. Another spring, more sunflowers. At the end of each long day, Emma stood at the threshold, sometimes with customers, sometimes alone, watching the world shift through the new bakery windows, knowing she'd fought for this peace. If you passed through Oak Haven, you'd see the transformation written on every fence post and flower bed. Doors open, laughter spilling late, the porch full even in the rain. The story was theirs again, unbreakable, unfinished, stretching forward in light. And so the seasons turned. Through winter, the porch plants died back but never gave in, their brown stems poking bravely through frost. Emma learned the rhythm of baking before sunrise, listening to Anna's laughter rise and fall from her upstairs room as she practiced spelling or sang silly camp songs. Locals became regulars. People whose glances once slipped past her now lingered at the counter with questions or smiles, sharing worries about taxes or offering advice about boilers. One ordinary February morning, as brittle cold clung to the town, Emma posted a sign in the bakery window. Closed today for a family holiday. Anna's birthday was coming, a real birthday, not a hand-to-mouth celebration, but one with friends and cake and everything Anna had ever scribbled onto wish lists. Balloons crowded the ceiling, lemon cake filled the air with promise, and Emma's spirits felt almost dangerous with joy. The old house, once a burden, rang with voices and music. Kids crowded the hallway, racing through rooms once hollowed by silence. A teacher dropped by with a homemade card. Even Maggie Hoyt left a shy envelope, inside just 4 words, "You belong here always." Anna's smile, bright and wide, left no doubt. After the party, while Anna napped in a heap of presents and crumpled ribbons, Emma slipped out onto the cold porch. A light snow was falling, damp, heavy, softening every sound. She thought about Margaret, about Dawn, about how nothing truly erases what was done, but kindness could fill some of the cracks. A year ago, she'd stood on these same steps, nearly empty-handed, nearly empty-hearted. Now, even in the hush of winter, she felt the promise of spring. Theo called that night, voice cheerful. "Saw you took the day, smart woman, how's our birthday girl?" Exhausted, happy, Emma answered, fingers curled around a mug of cocoa. "You know," Theo said quietly, "I think the whole town's different now. Sometimes it only takes one crack of stubborn light to wake up the rest. You did that, Emma." Laughing, Emma shook her head. "I think it was Anna mostly, I just followed her lead." "Well, however it happened, this place is better for it." He paused, then added, "You get some rest too." After the call, Emma padded upstairs, watching Anna sleeping, her cheeks pink, one hand curled protectively around her favorite stuffed frog. Emma sat on the bed's edge for a while, listening to the soft hush of her daughter's dreams, the steady tick of rain guttering on new glass. In that small, perfect silence, Emma no longer heard the old doubts. Instead, she heard sunlight and laughter and the insistent, vital beat of starting over. She pressed a kiss to Anna's hair, whispered, "We're home," and finally let herself believe it.